Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Extra Time TV. We had an action-packed game today, James. We're here at Smokey and Bunty's down on the avenue in Trinidad and Tobago. Before we get things started into this absolutely crazy day of football, James, tell the folks why we need to come down here and have a good time.
Well, after an action-packed day of hard work in football, you can come down here and get a nice cold beer. You can come and join us here for the show, the greatest show on earth, and you can also get the chance to win all those wonderful prizes. We have sports memorabilia, we have celebrities popping in, and just enjoy it. Come and join us for a great day of football.
Yes, and just a little bit of teaser, we'll be talking about this watch I have on soon. So, we'll leave that as a mystery, a cliffhanger, folks. But moving along, James, before we get into the action, usually we have to look at 4 games separately, but as we said yesterday, James and I had the very difficult task of looking at the games at the same time. So we're going to start things off with Group F. Canada unfortunately fell to Morocco. It was a game that Canada started off really strongly in this tournament. A lot of people had positive responses to how they played. All action, they stormed through CONCACAF, and unfortunately they fell to Morocco with a goal from Ziyech and also Nesri, if I pronounced that correctly. Forgive me if I didn't. And also Canada conceded an own goal from Naif Aguerd, if that's how I'm pronouncing it. Forgive me. But James, what do you think about Canada's performance and Morocco qualifying?
Well, I mean, obviously Canada, they came into the tournament very brightly. We were very excited. I mean, Jonathan David, Alphonso Davies, Borjan the goalkeeper, Laren up top, and they had so many players. They're probably not lived up to their potential, but what I would say about this team is they're a team to watch out for in the future.
Right.
They have a very, very talented team. They came into this game, they obviously went down 2-1. I have to say the first goal, it was a little mix-up. It was a pass back to the goalkeeper Borjan. He wasn't able to get under control and clear it. He played it out, and then obviously the ball was put in by Ziyech. He'll be heavily disappointed because he's one of the experienced leaders there in the Canadian team. But all in all, I think Canada probably just didn't do enough. They really lacked that centre forward who could finish things off. They obviously came into the game today with Laren up top, but they need to find that guy who can finish things off.
Yep.
We saw it against Belgium. They stumbled at that block.
Correct.
Today they fell again, but they were going home already before this game. So
yes,
as I say, it's been a good learning curve from them, but I think they will come back in 4 years and be a formidable team.
Yes, and for those who are looking at the CONCACAF qualifiers, especially with Trinidad and Tobago, Canada is a scary prospect because they look very strong. The foundations, both in the men and the women, James, you know about that. Looks really good. So we'll take a quick look at its statistics. 5 shots versus 6. Canada had 5. Morocco had 6. Canada had 0 on target according to this. Morocco had 2. And 59% possession for Canada, 41%. Not surprised about the possession. They are pretty strong, but I really liked the performances of Hakimi, especially with that goal. I mean, it was a goalkeeping mistake. So James, tell us about that one.
Well, as I say, I think it's just a miscommunication. I think Borjan coming out with pace, and the ball's tried to be knocked back to him. He then has to run out of his goal and then make a clearance.
Yeah, sorry.
And then obviously the finish comes from Ziyech. But one thing I would say, you said there are no shots on target, so people are probably saying, how did Canada score a goal?
Yeah.
But it was an own goal. I think it was Aguerd who scored that own goal. So that's obviously where because people might be watching and saying, what are Andre and James talking about?
Yes.
So there you go. So just making sure that you all know what's going on. But at the end of the day, Canada weren't able to do enough. But we have to say this Moroccan team have some really good players. From the goalkeeper Bono, not the singer obviously, right through to El Nesri, Ziyech, Hakimi, Boufal, Amrad in the midfield. So they have a very, very talented team and guys that can get forward. They attack with pace, and they're a team that can really cause teams problems. So anybody that's coming up against them, they're not guaranteed a victory. So it's going to be very interesting as we go into the round of 16.
Yeah, correct. And usually we talk about the tactical formations. Obviously, Canada stuck with their 4-3-3. James, you mentioned the lack of finishing. Was there something more? I mean, we kind of seen that finishing has let them down. We saw it in the first game against Belgium. They could have easily. They took a handful of those chances. This group could have been very different, and we'll talk about the group after in a little while. But do you think Canada could have done something differently? Was there something more the coach could have done, or is there not much a coach can do in that situation?
Well, when I looked at the system they were playing, it looked actually on paper more like a 4-4-1-1.
Yeah.
But I think when you've got guys like Alphonso Davies, in there, they could play maybe a 4-3 or something a little bit more offensive.
Right.
Maybe the coach felt that he couldn't do that, and maybe he was just playing for pride today.
Yes.
But I think as they will look towards a new campaign, building on things, I think they really need to look at finding that target man up front and being able to bomb forward quickly but have that solid defensive line. They made a mistake today and they were punished for it, and as I say, these are little things you need to tighten up on, but don't take anything away from them. This is a very, very good Canadian team.
Yes. So so obviously, we'll talk a little bit more about the group and how things turned out up next. So we're going to head into the next game. Croatia took on Belgium, which is a game that excited me a lot. These are two teams. I love Croatia. I love that midfield of Modric, Kovacic, and Brozovic as well. And then also Perisic as well. Players I love, and once again, shameless Inter Milan plug. Kovacic played at Inter Milan. Brozovic is at Inter Milan, and Perisic was a key player for Inter Milan. And now, obviously they all went off in different directions. But the game ended 0-0 at the cost of Belgium. James, I was expecting Belgium to really kind of give it a go this time around, and it just didn't seem to have anything in the tank, really.
Well, Belgium tried. They tried and tried. They obviously went and brought on Lukaku at the end, and he must have had about 5 or 6 chances. Couldn't put the ball in the net. But again, Croatia were very good. To me, they attacked with purpose at various points of the game. Obviously, they weren't able to get a goal themselves.
Yeah.
But I thought Modric, I thought Lovren, first of all, was fantastic at the back.
Yeah.
Some really, really big challenges. I thought Sosa was very good on the left for them. Kramaric, Levi up top. So to me, they had some good, steady performances. They weren't able to find that goal, but there was lots of action. It was action-packed all the way down to even after the game when Lukaku broke the dugout with his frustration. He wasn't able to score.
Yeah.
He lashed out, obviously, at frustration, because at the end of the day, they're going home as well.
Yeah.
And obviously, after that game as well, we're talking about the fact is that their coach may not be in charge as well.
Correct. And let's take a quick look at the stats, because 16 shots for Belgium, 11 for Croatia, 3 on target, which is the important one, versus 4 for Croatia. Possession 52-48. As you said, Belgium give it a real go towards the end. And let's talk about that Lukaku miss. I really thought.
Well, miss or misses, because to me there was several. There was one that he kind of cracked wide, kind of volley. There was one that there was a little mix-up in there with the goalkeeper, and he could have put it in as well. So there was so many of them, I can't even say miss, because it was 5 or 6. 1 point to note, I thought Carrasco in the first half was very, very good for Belgium.
Yeah.
And I thought he was an inclusion that they were very bright. They obviously brought in Trossard as well, and they had to revert obviously to Lukaku at the end, but by that time it was probably too little too late. And the golden generation, they were saying maybe it was gold plated, I don't know,
Oh, wow.
But they were not able to do it. And,
Yes.
Sadly, they're going to be on the plane back home.
Yep, and it raises a question. We always talk about this. Lukaku heading into this tournament he had an injury. He hardly played for Inter Milan this season, just a handful of games. And the assumption was he was saving himself for the World Cup. When you look back at obviously Roberto Martinez stepped down, right? So, do you think, as you've worked in professional football with the national teams and so on, as a coach, you live or die by your decisions? So Lukaku, he comes in, he's injured. Do you think he should have taken a chance with maybe a younger player who maybe would have been more hungry? What do you think? I know it's a difficult thing, but what do you think?
I think it's a difficult one, but what I would have said is, he wasn't able to play in the first game. He came on as a sub the second game and in the third game, so if he's not that fit, you're as well having somebody who's fresh, who's ready to go. He got into the position to score those goals, which makes you say he's still fit enough to get into the box and create havoc. But as I say, was it Lukaku or was it Lukaku? I don't know, because he wasn't able to do it at the end.
Yes.
And obviously kudos to Croatia, they're progressing, but you have to give them their credit too, because they were able to solidify that defence, stop Lukaku and scoring. The goalkeeper had a very good game as well. I thought Courtois as well for Belgium early on had 2 cracking saves. Yeah. So all in the end, a 0-0 draw was probably fair, but Belgium just did not show enough.
Correct.
The fact that Hazard didn't play as well, which is an interesting one to me, because he captained them in the first 2 games, didn't play today. So is there something off the field going on there as well?
Correct. So there's a lot of questions, folks, that we wish we had. We'll probably talk about in the longer podcast version with James, myself, and Kevin. You can check that out on Spotify and so on. So we have lots of content. But let's take a quick look at the table. So obviously, top of Group F is Morocco with Croatia being second, Belgium third, Canada at the bottom of the table. James, now that we know both teams, how do you think both Morocco and Croatia are going to perform as the tournament goes along? We know Croatia were finalists last time around. Do you think that they can, go really far in this tournament and maybe repeat the performances?
Well, the Atlas Lions, obviously the Moroccan team, have surprised everybody. I mean, I think if you'd have asked people coming into the competition, they would have probably said it was Belgium and Croatia.
Yep.
So the fact that they've won out the group 7 points, I think they could surprise somebody in the next round. I mean, can they go any further than that? I'm not too sure. And again, Croatia, they've got better and better as the tournament went on. The first game I saw them, I wasn't convinced, but Modric has pulled the troops together. I thought, as I say, the other players, Levi, Kramaric up top, have looked pretty impressive. So I think they could really cause some problems as well. They got to the final, obviously, last time around.
Yeah.
So we will see. But I think, all in all, these have been the two best teams from the group.
Yes.
And they progressed.
Yes, one of my concerns was the Asian defense, Lovren and so on, but he has performed really well. Midfield going upwards, Mandzukic is up there in age, but he has that experience, so we'll see as the knockout stages really take place if players like him already step up in the big games, because he is a big game player. Physically, we'll see how he's performing, but we'll see how it goes, and obviously Morocco looks really well. So, folks, let us know what you think in the comment section below. What do you think about both teams and how you think they're going to perform in this particular stage, which is the knockout stage? You lose, you go home. There's no mistakes now. So James, we're going to take a little message from our sponsors, from Biotech. So folks, let's hear what Biotech has to say.
Certified for all clinical disinfection and sterilisation, all infectious disease control and surgical instruments.
Alright folks, and we're back, so we're going to head straight back into the scores. The next group, which is Group E, was completely filled with drama. Japan took on Spain. That's the game we're going to talk about. It's going to be difficult because both games were played at the same time. We're going to have to figure out how we did this so you can understand how complicated it was. Japan came away 2-1 victors in this particular game, which really shook this entire group. So obviously there were some permutations and consequences for each score in this game, which we'll get into. But obviously this result was wonderful for Japan. Spain, it's kind of like a reality check because Spain really did try to get a result, and it must be interesting for people who are observing Spain how they performed in this game. So James, what are your initial thoughts on this particular game?
Well, this is an absolutely massive result for Japan. I mean, I couldn't have predicted this before the game. I thought, honestly, Spain were going to go through. I thought Germany were going to come back and sneak through as well. But for Japan to do this, it's absolutely fantastic. Obviously, Doan got the goal in the 48th minute. Tanaka, that goal now, that's a big talking point because the ball went out, it looked like, over the line, was cut back in, and then obviously Tanaka finished it. Big talking point. We obviously have a lot of technology at this World Cup.
Yep.
So the fact that they're not able to pick up on that really confuses me. And Morata was able to score for Spain as well. Now, very, very interesting game because to me it looked like at the end that Spain were just happy to play it out, and which is funny because if they had won the game, then they would have topped the group.
Yeah.
But when you think about who they would maybe play in the next round, maybe some of that came into it. But we'll talk about that at the end because I don't want to,
give too much
put
away.
any spoilers out there.
Yes,
but,
yes.
As I say, it was a very interesting, disciplined performance from Japan.
Correct, and it's a game and a group that was way more complicated than anybody expected. Everybody in here was glued to the screens, folks. That's how intense it was. People were looking on their phone, trying to work out the various scenarios, which we'll go through. But before we head to the other game, obviously Japan, and we used to do it obviously a lot. We're gonna have a little joke about that. Japan heads into this tournament under the radar. A lot of people weren't really fancying them. A lot of people said Spain, Germany were gonna go through. Japan comes in, wins their first game, and even in this game, James, they came in. James, a lot of people thought that Japan was probably gonna eventually succumb to Spain. We saw what happened. What do you think about this Japan squad and their potential heading into the next round?
I think it's a fantastic squad, and I think the coach has them well drilled. I mean, they play basically a 3-4-3, which obviously can change, obviously, if they're under the cosh a little bit at the back. But I think Tanaka was fantastic today. Made it up top. To me, he's an excellent player. He plays with Celtic.
Yep.
I think their goalkeeper's actually pretty good as well. So they have a strong core there, and they're able to build on it. They can be disciplined and sit in and soak up pressure. but they can also bomb forward and with pace. So it's something we've probably never really seen before in the past from a Japanese side, and that's what makes it so intriguing, that they have something a little different. They're pushing teams, and the interesting thing with this result is they now took out, they scalped another big team.
Yeah.
They did it with Germany, now they did it with Spain, which only leaves really, in my opinion, England, Portugal and Brazil, the big teams that have not been beaten by a smaller nation. So kudos have to go to Japan. It's a fantastic result, and we have to see how far they can go as well.
Yes, underestimate them at your peril, folks. We'll take a quick look at the stats. As usual, Spain dominated possession, 83% versus 17. Shots on goal, 12 versus 6. 5 on target for Spain, 3 for Japan. A perfect example, we spoke about this in the other shows, about how, possession could go both ways. It's an argument. A lot of people have the pro possession, then some people are against it, where they say sometimes it's pointless goals with matches. But James, once again, Luis Enrique has always been criticized by some people for, having possession for the sake of possession and not having that finished product. Do you think this is another example where Luis Enrique has to now sit down and say, okay, guys, we're conceding goals now. We have 80-something% possession, but we're still conceding goals. How does he solve that problem?
Well, first of all, I'm looking at the passes he has. I mean, you're talking about 1,058 passes to 228 of Japan. I mean, that's hugely different. The difference is massive. So, I mean, you could say, yes, what does he do with those passes, Are they passes going forward? Are they penetrating passes? Or are they just sitting in their own half and knocking the ball about? And I think that's the problem I have a little bit with the Spanish team. Yes, Morata scored today, but are they clinical? Can they go for the jugular? And I'm not too sure when they come up against a big team. And as I say, Japan, it's not as if they defended for their life, because it wasn't necessarily like that. I mean, it was one or two really good challenges, I think, from Yoshida at the back there, but generally they look pretty comfortable.
Yeah.
And that's what has to worry Enrique there, that, it was that comfortable for Japan.
Yep.
So when he comes up against a bigger team, let's say, for example, a Brazil who have all that pace going forward, a Portugal and England who have all that resilience and pace, we'll have to wait and see what he does.
Yeah, correct, because, his tactics obviously is very Barcelona influenced, is to keep the ball. The logic is you keep the ball, the opposition doesn't score, but they did. So, he has to ask himself a lot of questions, and as you said, against top quality teams, clearly the defense is not watertight. Long gone are the days of Puyol and inform Gerard Piqué. These guys are gone now. Some people are even harping back to the fact that yes, this is a new Spanish team. Players like Xavi, Iniesta, and so on have not really. The new generation is still kind of haven't found themselves yet. So we'll see how it goes. Plus, they don't really have a really out-and-out striker outside Morata as well. They have some young players, but it's going to be difficult to see how Spain will adjust to more aggressive teams. So, James, we're going to have to talk about the goal, because it got really quiet here, folks. It got really intense.
It was like the game.
Yeah, it was like the game. This is how the mood got, folks. It got really quiet. What do you think about, folks, before we even talk about that, let us know what you think about the ball that was outside the line. We'll put a picture up, we'll put a poll below. Let us know what you think in the comment section below about that. Did it cross the line? I think it did. James thinks as well. What do you think, James?
I think it did. It clearly did. I mean, it went out the line, it was cut back in, and obviously finished. So, and the music just got a little louder there in here as well, so we have to speak up a bit.
Yeah.
But I think it was definitely out. And as I say, with all that technology they have in the game now, especially at this World Cup, I can't see how it was allowed. But it didn't really make a difference, because I think inevitably Germany were still going home.
Yeah.
They were still on that plane. And talking about that plane, we never talked about our trip to Tobago.
No, yes.
So for two of our lucky guests who come down here and join us at Smoky and Bunties on the Avenue, we have a trip for two to Tobago with our friends there at Venture World Travels. So come down here, get the chance to win that, especially in the final on the 18th of December. And we have other prizes too. We have 6 packs of beer, we have gifts from our friends at Angostura as well, and lots more. So make sure you check them out. Make sure you check them out on social media, Venture World Travel, and come down here and enjoy the games.
Yes. So we're going to move along. Obviously, we're going to head to the next game. The game that I can't. Indescribable. Germany, a must-win game. Had to take on Costa Rica. It couldn't get way more complicated than it did. Costa Rica decided they were going to spoil the plot. Costa Rica started off, it looked like Costa Rica were going to kind of snatch an odd victory, but it ended up 4-2. We'll go into the details. It's very hard to summarize this game. We'll probably need a whole show for this group, James. But it ended 4-2. Germany, it was not enough for Germany to go through. James, what went wrong with Germany?
Well, I think when you have a very good fluid team going forward and you don't have the solidarity or the strength at the back. To me, that's what was a big problem with this German team throughout the tournament. I think, for example, Musiala was absolutely fantastic today. He was dancing around that box like he was a salsa star, you know?
Yeah.
Brilliant. They got some good goals, but inevitably they were not solid at the back. I mean, obviously in the game they got this victory, right? But the other results is what's put them out.
Yeah.
So I think Gnabry got a fantastic goal to open the score in the 10th minute. We know Havertz came in and scored as well, but this was a Germany team that they didn't show enough. And as I say, they get 3 chances or 3 bites of the pie, you know. They were able to get a good bite this time, but you can't take anything away from Costa Rica. They looked dangerous as well, and for periods of the game, there's at one point that Costa Rica were up. They were 2-1 up, and then Germany came back. So the game swung back and forward, and as we watched that other game as well, which made it even more interesting, and for the fans here at Smoking Bunty and watching on TV, it was an absolute thriller with these 3 o'clock games.
Yes, and you know, there's so much things to dissect in this game. So at one point when Costa Rica was 2-1 up, I believe, that goal from Manuel Neuer is registered as an own goal. Manuel Neuer, we spoke about this in other games, he's a top goalkeeper, but you know, he hasn't had the greatest tournament. What do you think about his performance today?
I think there was a lot on his shoulders coming into the tournament. You know, he's a skipper as well for Germany, and I don't like to criticise goalkeepers because I've been a goalkeeper, but I don't think he's had a tournament that he will be happy with. That's all I will say.
Yeah.
You know, I think he could have done better with some of the goals, but I think the one that comes off him is very unfortunate because it breaks through players, you know, but as the leader of that German team, he'll be bitterly disappointed that his team is basically on the plane going home.
Yeah.
And this is a team filled with stars, so you can't say that it's a team that only have 1 or 2 stars. It's glittered with stars.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said to you, I think when you arrived, Musiala to me he's a better Ozil. He could be close to Messi status if he is allowed to mature as a player, because the way he can dance through that box, he just needs to find that finishing touch, polish himself off as a player, and he will be fantastic for Germany. But they had too many players that are there or thereabouts. I mean, for example, they have Rudiger at the back, who's good, but too many times himself and his partner there at the back got caught too far apart. Costa Rica were able to break through, and Hansi Flick will be disappointed. Will he keep his job? I don't think so, because the German fans will be absolutely devastated with this.
Yes, and you know, this raises a point that I mentioned before. You know, he obviously was the assistant coach to, you know, Joachim Löw, and it's basically, some people are arguing that it's the same guy. It's the same philosophy. They play the same way. It was essentially replacing one guy with the same guy, and you know, the changes that people wanted did not come. And I think that's why maybe they're a bit more ruthless. He did make some changes, of course. He added a little touch, but it seems as if, you know, just the same problems they had before, because they had a bad Euros and a bad World Cup.
It's basically the same players. I mean, let's be honest, if you look through it, with all Barrett being a few, you know, even the fact that he had to go with Müller up top, to me shows that he doesn't have confidence in the other players, like Füllkrug, who scored the last goal today. He scored in the last game. If he maybe had a little more confidence in somebody like him, maybe he would get you something. But to me, he's not really given him a chance until the end, and by that time, it's probably too little, too late.
Yep.
I mean, as I say, this game is difficult to judge because, yes, they won the game. So some would say, you know, what's the problem? The fact they won the game, but it was the games before it. And this is where coaching comes into it. Like I said, it's not just game management, it's group management. You need to get as much points as you can. And inevitably they went out on goal difference because Spain had a superior goal difference. Because I know fans were messaging me and calling me and saying, how are Germany going home? But at the end of the day, that goal difference that Spain had was superior, you know, and Germany will be bitterly disappointed. There's nothing else I can say. I mean, it's sad.
We're still stunned.
That a big team goes home, but that's football.
So, you know, we're going to take a look at his stats. Once again, Germany dominated possession, 68%, 32. And like you said, you used the right terminology. It's almost like they only woke up in this last game. I mean, where was this Germany in the first 2 games? You know, they got 32 shots versus 7. I mean, 11 on target. This Germany looked scary when they were attacking, but it's almost like only when Costa Rica got that second goal, that's when they woke up and realized, wait a minute, what's happening? Well, let's start playing now. Where was that Germany? Is it that, you know, the desperation really brought out the best of this team, or is it that they just overall were not good enough? You know, Germany has a lot of questions, folks, you know, to ask themselves, because this will be now 3 international tournaments where they vastly underperformed, 2 consecutive World Cups where they're out on the group stage. This is a very proud nation, you know. A lot of people are arguing the signs were there in 2014, outside the Brazilian, obviously we all know about that game. I don't think Brazilians want to remember that game. But, there was some little cracks there, but they won the World Cup, and there was a couple of my German friends that were saying that, yes, they won the World Cup, but there were it peeped over a lot of cracks, and Germany became kind of complacent. And maybe a bit arrogant a little bit, but...
One of the interesting things is when you look at the European nations, so for example, think about when Holland were in their glee, they were playing total football.
Yeah.
And then they slumped. It's kind of like you've seen that with Germany. They won the World Cups years back, they were doing very well, and then they just hit this gap that they couldn't, or this hurdle they can't go over now.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like I say, you cannot look at that squad and say they have a bad squad, because every other country in the tournament would be happy to have that squad. But so there has to be more wrong than the players. It's the system, in my opinion. I mean, to me, when you have players with such flair, exuberance, ability, as I say, Musiala was dancing in that box at times, but they just couldn't finish early on. But again, they didn't do that in the opening games.
Yeah.
So, to me, is there a lack of confidence? They did it in this game, but they weren't able to do it in the games before.
Correct.
So there's so many questions unanswered, and as I say, the coach inevitably has to take the brunt of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's you can't not mention Costa Rica, because folks, this game was so complicated. At one point in time, Costa Rica had a shot. They were, if the results stayed the same, Costa Rica could have snuck in at the cost of Spain. Eventually, Costa Rica conceded. We're from the CONCACAF region, so obviously, a little bit of us, we're kind of supporting CONCACAF a little bit. But in the end, do you think Costa Rica could have done a little bit more to maybe keep that result? Because it seemed like they lost the plot, or was Germany just too powerful for them?
I think in the end, Germany were too powerful, because when you looked at Navas, for example, he had a lot of saves as well. He could have kept his team in it for periods of the game. Yes, he's again not been as good maybe as we've seen in the past, but he had a busy day today, and that was kind of a sign of things to come as the game went on. And I think Costa Rica were not able to sustain the strength they had at the back, and inevitably Germany got the result. But it would have been nice, from my point of view, to see a CONCACAF team make it through, another one, but it wasn't to be. And Subarashu to Japan, because it's fantastic that they were able to make it through.
Yes, and I have some Japanese friends, really good friends of mine, and they're connected with the Japanese embassy in the country. So congratulations to the country. I think Japan really deserved to win it. But let's talk about the group. So it was Group E, Japan obviously on top with 6 points, Spain 4 points, Germany out with 4, Costa Rica 3 points. So James, literally by margins, they were out.
Very, very tight group.
Yeah.
It just shows you, it's basically 3-4-4-6. So again, it came down to that goal difference. But like I say, you're given 3 chances, 3 bites of the cherry to get something. Japan and Spain, and you've got to give them a huge credit, especially, as I say, that Japanese team. I never seen it coming. I'm sure you never seen it coming, and I'm delighted for them.
Yep.
I'm feeling for sushi tonight.
I think we'll have some sushi to celebrate, folks. I love sushi, but listen, I'm very happy for Japan, obviously. Once again, another shameless interplug, Nagatomo. Congrats, my friend. So, guys, let us know what you think in the comment section below.
And the interesting thing now is we now know who's playing each other. So as we look forward to the round of 16, we will see Morocco play Spain. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. Is it that Luis Enrique said that I would rather play Morocco than Croatia, and that's why he sat back? It's an interesting topic, so let us know what you think. And Croatia will play Japan, 2, again, mouth-watering games. Tune in with us to see those games. And then tomorrow as well, we have more football again. We have the games at 11 o'clock. South Korea against Portugal. Will Portugal be Ronaldo-less? Because we heard he had a little knock. We'll see. And then Ghana play Uruguay. So we'll see what happens in those games. And then at 3 o'clock, Serbia, Switzerland, massive game for both teams. And Cameroon versus Brazil.
Yes. Lots and lots of football, folks. So the group stages are wrapping up. We're seeing now, we're going to head to the serious business, or the business end, where it's do or die. You lose, you go home. So, let us know what you think in the comment section below. James threw a whole bunch of questions for you all. Do you think the ball crossed the line in that game today with Japan? What do you think about the result? Do you think Spain, kind of stepped off the gas a little bit? Some people are saying yes, some people are saying no. Let us know what you think. We have lots of giveaways, as James said. We have we're going to throw in a little FIFA 23 as a surprise there as well. So there's lots of giveaways, folks. Come on down if you're physically here. Have some fun. Be safe. Sanitize and all those things as well. But the show to stick with James and I. We're gonna, as I always say, it's a marathon, not a sprint. James and I are trying to bring the game to you all. It's been very exhausting, but we love it. We've met so many wonderful people. But James, you know, we're gonna end the show off like we always do by letting them know where the show is and where it's at.
After a fantastic, wonderful, amazing day of football, make sure you all tune into the greatest show on earth.